Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we find ourselves in the year 2484, where 80% of Earth's surface has been rendered uninhabitable, but will be genetically and cybernetically enhanced soldiers, each racing to locate and kill the other Super Sniper first. Super Snipers is a puzzly polyomino placement sniper duel for 1 to 2 players. It's for ages 14 and up. It takes 20 to 30 minutes to play, and it's published by Galen's Games. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final, they're prototyped. To see the most up-to-date art and components, check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video. Now at the beginning of the game, each player is going to be able to select a different sniper, each of them with their own ability. And once each player selected their sniper, they're going to set up their area and it will look like this, and this is our area, for example. But the opponent will set up their area as well, facing us. Now the game is played over multiple rounds. Each round there's 3 phases of hiding, locating, and targeting, and you're going to be trying to make the kill on the other player. Now each player has 3 damage tokens. At the end of the round, whoever got killed loses a damage token. Whoever loses all 3 of them first loses the game. So in other words, you're trying to do 3 damage to the other opponent before they do 3 damage to you. Each player is going to be getting killed once per round. Now the first phase in each round is hiding. I have my corresponding cards to my specific sniper. And for those 3 cards, one of them is going to be where I actually am, and the other 2 are going to be misses. Now each game you're going to have 3 different locations, and there's multiples of these, so each game will have slightly different locations that you're going to. But what you're going to be trying to do is trying to figure out where you're hiding from your opponent on their location grid. These ones are ours. And so once I figured out which one of these locations of my opponent that I want to hide at, and which ones are just misses, I will place them face down. So I'm secretly hiding at one of these, and the other player's going to be trying to figure out which location I'm actually at. And the opponent will be doing the same thing as well. Then you go to the next phase of the turn, which is locate. Now, there's multiple ways to play this game. In the 2-player game, you can play the duel, which is what we're doing now, which is going to be turn-based, but it's simultaneous. And there's a quick draw method that I'll talk about later that's more real time. So in this standard duel method, each player is going to get one of these tokens. And right now it says ready. And at the same time, you're going to count down, you're both going to flip it to go, and then you're going to take your turn. And when you're done with your specific turn, you'll just flip it to ready to let you know that your turn is over. This just to make sure that you're both on the same turn structure. You're both taking the same amount of turns, if you will. But now that you know how that works, I'm just going to remove this just to keep this a little cleaner. So in this locate phase, you're going to be taking one of these polyominoes, which is known as your focus. And there's sort of thematically 3 types of focus. Purple represents environment, gray represents breath, and gold represents time. Now essentially you're going to be placing this one closest to this line of sight is your active focus. So again, you're taking these turns simultaneously, but you're going to place your active focus on one of the location boards. So let's say I take this one. Now, as you place these, there are some rules. I can place it on any 3 of these. Now, if you're starting a new type of focus, this is that purple kind, which is environment, you must start in touching on the edge of one of them. So I could put it here. However, you might notice that there's this little surveillance symbol, and they have 2 different colors on it. This has the purple and the gray, purple and the gold, and so on and so forth. If you cover the same color like that, you get surveillance. Essentially, go to your bag without digging or feeling around, just grab the first one. You actually get to place it over here on your surveillance. This is going to help you at the beginning of next phase once you've actually located the other player. Now, once we've placed this, these will slide like this, and again, without digging around, you'll go like this. You'll put the next one up here like this. And again, there's all 3 colors in here. They're all sort of randomized. Each player gets their own bag. And of course, I had gone, and I would have been ready now, waiting for the other player to sort of catch up with me. And then you'd do it again. So you'd keep doing this. Now, I don't have to place on the same one. I could take this one, and now I could go here, or here, or here like this. But maybe I want to go something like this. It just depends on what's out there, what's going on. Now, when you take this, again, the first one has to be somewhere like this. So maybe I do something like this. And again, I covered this. So I would get another surveillance. So I would place this over here for later. But now, on a future turn, if you place one that's already there, let's just say, for example, when we came up to here, let's just say it kind of looked like this. Let's just cheat a little bit here. Now, if it looked like this, If I place this again, it's a new one on some of these other boards, it has to be on the edge, but if I go on one that's already here, I need to have it touch so that it is, orthogonally adjacent, not just diagonally, to the same color. They have to continue to chain, which means if I play another gray one, it's gonna kind of have to touch some of these like this. Now, if you get to the point and it's your turn and you don't want to or you can't play one of these, you can discard it and essentially refresh up to 3 and that's your turn. Now, like in most polyomino games, you can't sort of stack them, they can't overlap, they can't overhang and things like that. And once they've been placed, they can't move without any special abilities that allow you to do that. So let's say we're a few turns later and I have this and I wanna place it right here. As soon as you isolate this from the edge of the board, you have basically located this, and we have to find out if that's where they really are. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but as long as this is sort of not touching, the rest of the board, for example. Meaning, like, if it was my turn and I placed this one here, well, this is still isolated from the edge of the board, so it is isolated, and I could see if that's where they really are or not. But let's say we just did this, we filled this in, and we're going to tell them that we're going to be searching this location, so we will flip over our opponent's card, and we will see, unfortunately, we missed. They are not actually there. So we would continue. And again, both players are doing this simultaneously. Again, let's say on next turn, we did do this. This would have been refreshed. This should always have 3 when you're done. You'll always have 3 right there. And let's say we did this, and we're going to locate, because this is isolated from the edge of the board. And we'll go like this. Ooh, look at that. We located the target. So we are going to proceed to the target phase, which is the next phase. Now keep in mind, this is an interesting part of the game, is I could be in the target phase. The other player playing against me might not be here yet. They might be still trying to locate me. So you could be in a completely different phase than the other player. You're getting closer to possibly taking them out. Now before I go to the next phase, I want to show you these Recalibrate tokens. Now you start with 2 of them and they're face up. And anytime you can flip one of these, and when you do so, essentially you're using it up for that round, but you can choose different things to do with this. Now let's say I want to remove one of these using that recalibrate. You can remove any one of these. Now you can break up chains. Now if you do this, you cannot use that surveillance again. It can only be used once per round. And that piece would be placed into your discard pile. Or instead you could use that recalibrate token to discard your active focus, the leftmost one. You'd put it in your discard, and then you'd slide and you refill. And again, these can be used anytime on your turn, and you can skip a turn to reset them, giving you the opportunity to use them again in the same round. So let's get back to where we were. We located this person and they were in the high rise. So we're going to locate the high rise target board and we're going to place it right into our board like that. I'll then place the innocent people on the innocent spots. Now we're going to need to isolate them both from the edge of the board and from the target location person where we're trying to actually make the kill at. Then any of that surveillance we got in the previous phase, we get to now place all of these following the normal rules. Now keep in mind when you're placing this surveillance, you can place them in any order, but you do have to follow all the normal rules as well. Now on your next turn, what you're going to be doing is again taking your active focus and placing it with those normal rules. Now I have this, so I need to chain off of this somehow. Now if I do something like this and I start to, again, you can flip it, you can rotate it. Notice that this is purple. This is sort of a bonus here. And if I cover it with the same type of focus, like let's do something like this. Now this is great because it does 2 things. Number 1 is it covers this bonus, which we'll talk about in a minute, but we've now isolated this innocent from the edge of the board and from this target location. And that's what you're trying to do. You need to do that for all 3 innocents, and then we'll try to kill the opponent there, that sniper. Now you'll notice down here we have the icons of the different bonuses that are possibly on this target board, and we did cover this one with the right type of focus, so we will now flip this up, and this gives us an ability. So you actually take one out of the bag and you place it here randomly, and what this allows you to do is it's a reserve focus. At any time you can swap this one with your active focus, meaning the one to the left that you need to place. And so you could swap it. And with this bonus, it's different from the other ones, this exchange. Once this is active for this round, you can do this as many times as you want. So let's say, oh, you know what? I really could use this one. I'm going to swap this one with this one like that, and then I could use that other one. So, and you can continually do this each turn, you can swap. So it's a pretty powerful ability. Now, if you ended up covering that with the sort of the gray focus, you'd flip this over, and that gives you the move ability. One thing is it allows you to move one of your pieces that you've already placed. I might go like this, I might do something like this. Now you have to keep all the same rules, meaning it still has to chain to that type and things like that. Or you can actually steal any single focus from your opponent's line of sight, making it the active one for you. Of course, then the opponent would refresh, push down, and draw from the bag, but you could take theirs for your next active one if you like. But you only get to choose one of those two things if you end up covering this with the correct one. And if you cover the concentrate with the gold focus, essentially you get to start a second chain of any focus type, meaning, because normally once they're out, you got to chain them, but now you could start a second chain. So for example, let's say I had this. I could use this ability to swap this with this, and now I could start a second chain, and I might do something like this, for example, and because it's a new chain, it starts from the edge. So that's one way you could use this. Now, anytime you use these abilities, you use them and they get flipped over, you can't use them again. This is the only one that you use and you can continue to use throughout the round. Now, normally you're trying to get to the point where you have all three innocents isolated from both the location of the target and the edge of the board. So these are all isolated, and the primary target needs to be isolated within the red outlined kill box. Then you'll be able to place your bullet. This is your bullet, and you'll be able to place this, and you'll be able to, boom, make the kill. And if you do, you would have won the round. However, I mentioned earlier that there's some special abilities. For example, here, I've got all of them innocent. They're all isolated, but this one, I cannot fit this. And remember, you've got a plan for this. So I might have this ability which says your bullet may overlap other focus. I have a trick shot, that's my ability, but I've been building this knowing that. So boom, I can go like that, and I still would have been able to win this round. And they would have lost 1 damage token. If that was their third, we would have won. Now, if you made the kill, you actually get to flip your tactical advantage token. Now, if you were the one to make the kill, you get your tactical advantage. You'd flip this over, and then in a future round, let's say it is the future round, this is our active line of sight, you can flip this once to use its ability, and you can rearrange this. Maybe you want them to be like that. So it gives you some flexibility and some planning there. Then I would take the location grid that's in front of my opponent that I was hiding at, and I would remove this from the game, and I would remove a miss. So now they're going to have a 50-50 shot as to which one guessing where I'm at starting at next round. So it gets a little easier as you get a little bit more ahead for the other player. Now the player who got killed this round, they get to get their adrenaline power for next round. So what they get to do is they basically go like this, we flip this over, and now we have essentially a better ability. Now, in addition to their normal ability, which was Overdrive, where once per target phase they could activate all bonuses, they now have machine learning. So every time the enemy, which would have been us, because this is the other player, anytime we use a bonus, they get to draw and play 1 focus from the bag. Pretty cool. Plus, they get to use their adrenaline. So anytime they can place this on their board, it's sort of like a wild, and they place it instead of placing their active focus, and they can place it anywhere, and they can ignore the normal placement rules, but they cannot cover crosshairs, innocents, or the primary target, for example. Now each player will then take all of their focus and such, they'll push the bullet back, they'll reset up, they'll take all of these, put them back in their bag, all of their focus gets back in the bag. Basically, you just start setup again for the game. And again, the first player that is able to damage the other player 3 times is the winner. Now what I was showing you was the duel, which is simultaneous turns, but you're taking the turns sort of together and you're making sure you've each taken the same amount of turns. You could play a quick draw mode once you know what you're doing, and each player gets a timer. These are roughly 10 seconds. And now you're gonna flip this and you're going to take your action. Now, if you finish your action before this timer is over, you must wait until the timer has hit the bottom, like it's about to do here. And then as soon as it's done, you still might not be done yet, and you're still thinking, well, it's just sitting there. Well, the other player may be done, and they flip it and they do another action. So you kind of need to move a little faster in this version, because the faster you move, the more actions you're going to take, and you might get closer to beating your opponent. But if you're just doing things with speed and not with strategy, it might be better to wait and think a little bit. So you've got another layer of depth here in the quick draw mode. Now there's 2 ways to play this in the solo mode. One of them is contract mode, where you'll face off against an IA, and that's going to simulate an opponent through a simple system that activates different behaviors based upon their active focus each turn. And there's certain things that happen in the locate phase as well as the target phase in contract mode. Now the other mode is hostage rescue, where 2 snipers have teamed up to take you out, and they've invested in an insurance policy, which are 2 buildings full of hostages, which are innocents, surrounding them, and you're going to need to take out both snipers and rescue the hostages. Well, there you have Super Snipers, and as I showed in the overview, it has a puzzly, polyomino aspect and many different modes of play. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video, and that will take you to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that Galen's Games would love your support.